Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Hashem. B'Shem Irgin Shir Torah, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Rabbi Yakov Smith on Hilchas Shabbos, Ksheyered Geshamim, Rain on Shabbos. That's a great solicit sponsoring a shir. Call Irgin Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Harav Smith.
I don't know if you noticed, but the past 4 Shabbos it was raining. Someone told me actually the past 8 Shabbos it was raining. Besides Yom Kippur, Shabbos, but 8 weeks in a row it rained. This is the first Shabbos it didn't rain, but it's raining today just for our shir. Talk about raining. But the truth is, as we'll see today, the sugya of the rain on Shabbos is a big sugya. And I'm going to start with 4 kashas, 4 questions that we had that really will whet your appetite to try to figure this out. Simple question. Someone told me, B'Shem, one of the G'dali HaPoskim, that let's say it's a moderate rain like we have now. It's drizzling, and the person's wearing his winter coat on Shabbos. And whenever I say on Shabbos, I mean without an eiruv, obviously. And he's going to my coat's going to get ruined. So he wants to put the me'il, the plastic raincoat, over his winter coat. So this Paisik officially said it's asa because you're wearing it just to protect the coat. You're not wearing it if it's a heavy rain and you might get wet, so it's mutter. But here it's just to protect the coat. It's like many Paiskim hold, it's asa to wear a hat cover. That was one. Second question we had, today they made new types of coats and me'il and even spring coats that they have a hood that's hanging, and if it's not raining, you roll it up and you put it into a pocket. Is that mutter to go on Shabbos, rolling up the hood and putting it in? Then someone asked me a question. He had a very expensive hat, and he wanted to know halacha. Is there the yesh lahakol to wear a plain rain hat to cover the plastic hat cover that has been worn? And I think the question that really was interesting to me, someone said he was by a shir, and it was a heavy rain that Shabbos, and someone walked in a little late, and obviously he didn't have a raincoat, and he wrapped himself totally around with a plastic tablecloth. So he came in looking obviously like a ghost, but he was wrapped around to keep dry. And the Rav says, I have to be moicha. This is Chilul Shabbos. It was an Eidler Rav, but he felt this was Chilul Shabbos. So if you think about it, we could reduce these questions and many more to one simple question. You're allowed to wear a malbish on Shabbos because it's obviously batal to the guf. Let's say you have a tzorech haguf. Let's say this fella doesn't want to get wet. He'll walk from his house to the shul in a tremendous mabul, he'll get wet. So maybe tzara guf would also legitimize doing something which is not a malbish necessarily. That was the question that we began with. But as we always hopefully see, but today I think it's clear, the sheinkeit, the nitzchias of our Torah, that everything is there in our Torah. We're going to find the most interesting sources for the most contemporary new type of shilas. The Gemara says in the Dharm, Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis, Yoitzin b'sak ova, you're allowed to go out with a sack cloth. Yes, as crude as it is, like Mordechai went out when he was in Avelis. You're allowed to go out with a sack cloth and a different type of cloth, sack cloth, bi'ariyah, with a sheet on Shabbos. Mipnei hageshamim. In other words, it's raining and you're going to get wet. So you're allowed to put even on a sack cloth or a regular sheet to protect you from the rain. Oh, this is what we're looking for. Here we have beferish that to save you from rain is mutter. And the Rosh explains, ki derech lotzeis mipnei hageshamim. Since the derech is to go out with these type of cloths, these sacks, it becomes a derech. I guess it's a malbush and it's not a masui. Now, don't forget, they didn't have plastic in those days. What did they use? They used these type of material. So here we have the chayra of a ferish raya that if you're wearing something to protect you from the rain, it should be mutter. But it can't be. Because the same Rosh adds a few words. Hu adin beloy geshamim nami shari. This sackcloth is so much mutter that even if it's not raining, you're allowed to wear it. L'mashal, you went to shul, you put on your sackcloth, it was raining. You want to walk home and it's not raining. But to leave it in shul, it'll get mixed up with everybody else's sackcloth. So what do? You want to wear it home. Zok derash it's mutter. So if the only heta is tzorech haguf, now it's not a tzorech haguf, why is it mutter? And the Mishnah Berurah in our Simon, Shin Aleph, Sikot Nayim Beis, quotes this. So there must be a bigger heter, and that's where the one word, the key word for today, and that's called malbush. Beged, malbush, all the same. When something has the status of a malbush, it's mutter unconditionally. Rain or shine, day or night, as we'll soon see. When something is considered a malbush, it's mutter. Oh, that would explain that this sack, evidently it has a din of a malbush, and it's mutter across the board. The word malbush is the easy pass, even without a tzorach. That's the chayr we see from this Gemara, and I'll prove it. Because the very next word in the Gemara, avaloi b'teva, v'loi b'kuba, v'loi b'machzelas, mipnei hageshamim. Here's the same scenario. It's raining. They don't have the plastic coats. So he decides to be creative. A teva is a chest, kupa is a basket, machzelas is a mat. So either he puts the box or the chest on his head or over his head, and it's also even though it's b'nei hageshamim. The Gemara says, geshamim is the heta. Tzorach is the het, and this is a tzorach. He's going to get very wet. Apparently, as the Rosh explained, the lav derech malbush hu elamasui. So the difference between a sack and a box, we'll call box, I mean teva, kupa, machzelas, is one's a malbush and one's a masui. I'll tell you why I saw this. It was I was in camp one Shabbos. It was pouring, and one of the waiters had to run to his bunkhouse to get something. So he's a creative fellow. So he grabbed one of these trays that they carry 6 bowls of cholent and held it over his head and ran to his bunkhouse. So I told him gently afterwards, says, it's a good thing that there's an eiruv, so you're not oiva al tzaitzah. Can't be tzaitzah. But the problem is malbush. The problem is oil. He's holding an oil over his head. We'll soon see why is it different than a umbrella. So we'll get back to that soon. But had this been b'rshus harabim, even though he's taking this tray to protect from tsar, it's not a malbush. A tray is not a malbush. So tray and box and kupa is all the same. But we see even more. We see even more to this magical word called malbush. The Gemara says, same Gemara, haroyim yoitzim besakim, v'loy royim bilvad amru ela kol adam, ela shadibru chachamim b'hoiva. So Gemara in Shabbos, Samach Bey says, in other words, the average person does not wear sack clothing. That's not done. Royim, because of their situation, they do it. Here the Gemara is expanding the heta of a malbush. If it's a malbush for one group of people, it's mutter for all. Normal people don't wear a sack, but once it's a malbush, it's mutter. So here we see the unusual koyach of the word malbush. Rashi in Shabbos Samach Beis, when he explains this Gemara, he says migui, that it's mutter for the roya, it's mutter for the rest of us. Now he doesn't mean the bava metzia dika migui. He means once it has the status of a malbush is mutter unconditionally. Shabbos, weekday, rain, no rain, derech of you or not, as long as it's a malbush, it's mutter. And this is quoted in Shulchan Aruch Shin Aleph Chaf Aleph. And the Mishnah Berurah says, because the chashiv malbush ushari. So we see 3 heterim on the word malbush. First of all, it's mutter without rain. It's mutter, as we said, even if you're not a roya and that's not your type of clothing. And it's mutter even in the case of the other cases that we said, when it's not really a shmir. It's mutter for royim and all people. Now let's go expand this word malbush a little further. Someone told me it's a true story. He lives near a shul, and someone knocked at the door early Shabbos morning. I have a message from Pliny, a friend of yours. Can you come to shul with 2 pair of socks? He said, sure. Well, could I know what's happening? Well, your friend's in the mikveh, and his socks fell into the mikveh. He has no socks for davening. You can't come to without socks. So come to shul, you live close by, and you'll make the exchange in a makom sanua. So, how do you wear 2 pair of socks during the summer? So here we have another Gemara, another Mechaba. This is in Eiruv in Tzadikei Mabez, also Masechta Shabbos, Shulchan Aruch Sif Lamed Vav. You're allowed to go out with 2 malbushim. Some say 2 or more, as long as it's the derech. In other words, the Ramah and the Mechaba argue about wearing 2 belts because it's not the derech. But the Ramah, who holds 2 belts are awesome, he's moida that 2 anpalois is mutter. Mamish anpalois is socks. Why? So the Sharatzian explains, derech malbushe b'choyel. Some people are cold, they wear 2 socks. So now we see a further expansion of the word malbush. Malbush is mutter even for 2, even during the summer when you don't need it. Yeah. But before we apply this lamaisa, I wanted to make one more point. The Gemara in Shabbos Yud Alef Mabez is speaking about someone who's bleeding, and it's a moderate bleeding. It's not going to, cause tsar, but it's going to stain the begadim. So the person wants to wear a moich, it's not whatever, but to wear a shmate, a moich, a band-aid we'll soon see, to prevent the bleeding, to go and stain the clothing. So the Gemara said that's called itzulei tinuf. You're not doing it for your guf, you're doing it to protect the beged. And that you can't carry, because it's not bottle, it's not a beged. It's a moich, a piece of material, and it's just not enough to become part of you. Frekt Toisvis in Shabbos Samach Dalet Amud Beis, the Mishnah there says that you're allowed to go out with a moich to protect from bleeding. So Toisvis the chiluk is pashut. If it's a very light bleeding and it's only itzulei tinuf, that's awesome. But the Mishnah is talking about that it's heavy bleeding that will dry on the skin and cause irritation. That is sar haguf. Sar haguf is mutter even this moich. What's the pshat? It's not a real beged, but it's worn, quote unquote. We'll soon see a band-aid is a good marshal. It's worn on the guf. And if it's done to prevent tsar haguf is mutter. And that's the Shulchan Aruch in Shin Aleph Yud Gimel. In fact, the Shulchan Aruch says, but if you want an eitzah evenly tzulei tinuf, put on a regular beged. Because when something is a beged, it's mutter even if you don't need it. Kolshken if you want to protect your begadim. So here we see crystal clear. When something is a beged, it's mutter without a suffix. Even like tzulei tinuf. When something is this in between, like a moich or a shmato or band-aid, then tzara guf is mutter, itzulei tinuf is awesome. And that's the Shulchan Aruch there, and Mr. Bur explains, because it's once you make, but if you make it into a beged, that is a beged which is mutter. So the word malbish is taka very, very powerful. And I'll read the Shulchan Aruch in the next Sif Yudal that crystallizes the point, and then I think we could really move on. The Shulchan Aruch in Shin Aleph Yudal, davashu tzarach malbush, afilu einu loiv she'ela mishum itzulei tinuf, mutter latzeis ba. Why? Once it's a malbush, it's mutter. You look in the Beis Yosef, one source is interesting, and that's the Gemara in Shabbos. Shulchan Aruch Sif Lamadei quotes this. If someone wears a sheet, a material, and he wears it derech levisha, wrapping, in those days they wrapped begodim, like, we were at Talis as a shtickle wrapping, but they wore like lahavla Arabs wear today. That's mutter, because that's derech malbush, it's on the body. So therefore, reason the mechaber, once something is a malbush, it's mutter. And then he has a second raya to his yisoid, and we'll appreciate that. And that is sak shel royim. Sak shel royim is not your typical, but it's a beged for royim, it's beged for all of us. So here we see the yisoid beautifully. One point I'm probably wondering, so 1 second. Why is it awesome for the fellow that has no raincoat to carry a tray or a box or a machzeles? This is tzara guf. He's going to get drenched. He's going to get sopping wet. We're not doubting this is tzara guf. The answer is ikachasim and aseifa. It's not even worn. A band-aid is worn. A shmat is worn. This is carrying it. You're not to carry something for tzarech guf. So the yisoid has to be a malbush, at least derech malbush. Carrying something like carrying an umbrella is awesome. So Baruch Hashem, we have the yisoid. Let's apply this to Maisa. We'll start with an interesting question, and we'll go in order. A malbush is mutter across the board. A good example, a spring coat in light weather, in light drizzle, I'm sorry. Now, let me just remind you, because it's a different world today, but when we were growing up, there was they called it a raincoat, spring coat, which is basically a rain repellent material. But you wore it in this in-between weather, not winter, not summer. And that was the raincoat of Amol. They started manufacturing these new ill coats, which is very convenient. But we're talking about a spring raincoat that's a regular malbush. The question is, you're about to walk to shul. It's not cool outside, and it's drizzling slightly. So you want to go back home, put on this spring coat for only one reason. It's not cold. Just to protect your suit, it shouldn't get wet. So this is Nedarim Nun Heimed Beis. Because a spring coat, without doubt, is a regular malbush, and a malbush is mutter, even litzulei tinuf. That's pashut. In fact, The second chiddush might be, I don't know if this is the derech, but lo yitzur the derech would be that some people wear 2 coats, then you could go home and you get an SOS, someone needs a raincoat in the shul, you could wear 2 raincoats. As long as it's the derech, but one thing is clear, it is a malbush is mutter across the board. So this is that case of a derech, of a malbush mamish. Question, interesting question, and that is, someone got a cut on the finger. Okay. To wear a band-aid, it's not a malbush, but this is, as the Shulchan Aruch says in Shin Aleph Chav Beis, if a person has a cut, and any type of refuah, Shulchan Aruch calls it a tachshit, but the point is, you're allowed to go out with a band-aid, gauze pad, etc., etc., if it's litzu leitinef. Today, typically, it is not to protect the beged, it would be the tzar haguf, and that would be okay. About a rupture belt, a hernia, that's not a malbush in the literal sense, but that's a tzar haguf. For nashim, nursing pads that prevent tzar of the guf is mutter. Question, someone asked me this question, more Allah shayla ma'isa, but he had an einfal. Let's say it's a very heavy rain, and if he walks to, he has no raincoat, if he walks to shoes and gets sopping wet, certain tzar haguf. So he was thinking, before Shabbos, I'll open an umbrella. So he's not opening the umbrella on Shabbos, not making an oil. So there are 2 problems. Nun darim nun heim beis. An umbrella of today is like the case of the Gemara, of the sack and the kupa. And this is not my chiddush, the Pri Megadim, in the end of Shin Aleph and Mishpei Sahav, he has mamish the shayla. This is the old-fashioned umbrella. He says that it's asa al tzaitzah. Why? Because this is the what we said earlier. In other words, let me be clear. There are really 3 categories that any shayla can fall into. One is the word malbush. Malbush is mutter unconditionally, period. Le'idach gisa, non-malbush, not derech malbush, box, teva, umbrella, is asa even patzar. The in-between is, it's worn, not a full malbush. We'll soon see a band-aid or cotton in the ears. The Mishnah says is mutter. Shulchan Aruch Shin Gimel says it's mutter. Why is it mutter? Because that's worn. It's not carrying like an umbrella. So Taka, the Pri Megadim, is the first to speak about a umbrella that it's haitzah. Besides, of course, as the Noid Yehuda and Tinyana or Chaim Lamed, his famous tshuva, he tries Chai V'Kayim, we don't use umbrellas on Shabbos, out oil. The Bialach and Shin Tez Vav Ches quotes it. But no doubt about it, the umbrella, the tray, the teva, kupa, and the darim, and heim beis are all masui, even if it's very, very uncomfortable for the guf. Because it's not worn, it's not a malbush. Question, true story, someone had a very good winter coat, it disappeared. He looked for it for weeks, wasn't miyayish. One hot Shabbos after davening, he noticed his coat's right there in the shul's coat room. He didn't want to leave it there till after Shabbos because Kabbalah Kach Polta, it disappeared, and I don't want to get into the details, but there's no Issa V'achana to bring home something to protect it that shouldn't get lost. But he had a shayla. Can you wear a winter coat during 90-degree weather? That's not typical. So that's not the problem. That's Nadarim Nenheim Beis. Once something is mutter b'nei Akishamim, it's mutter shlei b'nei Akishamim. But here we have a different problem, which is a sugya, and that is Shulchan Aruch Shin Aleph Zayin based on the Gemara. If a person does something that causes others to look at him and laugh at him or be surprised at him, so he's going to feel self-conscious and take it off and carry B'shus HaRabim. Shulchan Aruch's example is walking out with one shoe. He only has one shoe, so one is better than nothing. But when people look at you and laughing at you and wondering what you're doing, you're going to carry it. That's what the Shulchan Aruch's lashon is dilma b'chaychi Allah, and it'll come to carry. You see, it's not enough to keep Shabbos. You have to be shoyim Shabbos, roiv of Masechta Shabbos and eruvin agizeres d'Rabbanan, and this is one of them. So here the question is: walking during 90-degree weather or even 80-degree weather with a winter coat, is it tzarachi and gadol? The chayfus chashud. And I found Reb Shlomo Zalman says this in the Shmir Shabbos. He's quoting the Ches Ha'ori Yates. I'll give you a shayla similar to his shayla. Someone came to shul and forgot to bring his shtreimel. I heard this is supposed to be a true story, and he's too lazy to walk home. So he sent a boy from the shul, go to my house and come back with my shtreimel. The boy walks into shul, a suit, a red tie, wearing a shtreimel. All of it, 12 years old. So Shlomo Zalman speaks about short jacket, long jacket, but this is more. This is muta mitzad haitzah, it's a malbush. But it's just, ridiculous. It's ludicrous. And he adds, and that same shtickle, he adds, that would be an issue, and Sivkot and Chaf, that is, of wearing a winter coat during the summer. Taka mitzad haitzah is fine. It's nedarim nun hey. But the problem is you might come to laugh at you, why are you wearing a winter coat in this weather? Interesting shaila. Someone asked Rav Moshe, I don't know where he's coming from, in Chayla Gimel, Siman Aleph. This is Tafshin Chavav, please keep that in mind. Is it mutter to wear a woolen talus cotton, a tzitzis, during a hot summer Shabbos? So he felt that if no one wears woolen begodim during a hot summer day, the loss of Shem Malbush. So Moshe says, first of all, if it's a beggar during the week, it's a beggar Shabbos. And also he writes, since I can't understand it, he says, many people, harbe, go on Shabbos, even on a hot day, with a mantle. How is that mutter? Teretz is, it's accepted, and no one laughs at them. Now, today, I know what he means, see them go with a black overcoat, even during the summer. Was that the same in Tafshin Chavav? I don't remember that, not before my times, but maybe that's what Moshe meant. But interesting, his raya is you're allowed to wear a mantle even if that's the derech. So chassidim that wear a coat during the summer, that's no one laughs at them. But to wear winter coats down in the street, that's a problem. A bacha told me he had a cast, and the whole weekend Shabbos he wore a plastic over it. It shouldn't get dirty. He was a little of a mephonik. He wanted to keep it clean. And he said one Shabbos someone stopped him and says, you're not allowed to do that. And something, the person was right. He's only wearing the plastic to protect the cast. It's not for his guf. He's not going to get in tsar. So that would be a problem of mamish chaitzah. Someone last week asked me this, and I'm happy the next week's share fits in. He wanted to know, can he wear a talus gadol outside, b'sharabim, on Leil Shabbos? Now, the story was, make a long story short, he came to his regular shul Friday night, and he remembered that tomorrow he has an eiruv the other direction. He forgot to bring the talus home or the other shul before Shabbos. So he's going to have to go from house to the shul, put on the talus, and walk a double distance. So once Friday night, he'll put on the talus and go home with it. Or last Shabbos he ate by Yishver Shabbos Day Suda. He left the talus there. And this Friday night, he's there again. So it's a good shidduch. Shver's house, Shver's at the right time. He wants to wear his talus home Friday night. So the emes is, no one in America, we'll soon see about ourselves, but no one in America, typically, unless the Rebbes wear talus Friday night. So maybe taka, it would be awesome. And indeed, the Aruch HaShulchan in Shin Aleph, Sif Kuv Ches, talus on Shabbos night is also except Leil Yom Kippur. Now this is a pella. Because a talus, besides that the fact Yom Kippur we wear it, but every day we wear a talus, weekday on Shabbos. Once you go with Nadarim, Nun Hey, and B'days, so why is Friday night also? And the Pshalm Zalman in the Shmir Shabbos, Yud Ches Ar Kuf Nun Tes, asked this. And he points out that the Aruch HaShulchan himself in Yud Gimel, Sif Chaf, that's the Sif Beis in Hilchos Tzitzis, says you're allowed to wear Shabbos, you're allowed to wear talus, cotton and gadol, weekday and Shabbos even at night. So it's a little about steering the Aruch HaShulchan, but halacha l'maisa we have no problem with saying that to wear talus Friday night would be mutter. The only thing is, if you march through the streets without a coat, they might laugh at you. A Naya Rebbe, maybe Shalayim, there are some kehilas that wear it Friday night, fine. But here in America, it's not done, so if you want to wear a coat over it, so that's okay. But if it shouldn't be a situation of mechai chiyala. Question, a woman wanted to help her chavata, who was making a simcha, with a shalom zachem, and wanted to come prepared. So the woman put an apron on her own house, put a coat over it, and came, here I am, I'm ready to help, don't worry, I'm wearing an apron, I'm not worried about getting dirty, I'll help you with the ganze ganzkeit. Question is, are you allowed to wear an apron in the street? An apron is a classic example of latzulei tinef. And this is a problem. But the only thing is, if you remember earlier we said, in Shulchan Aruch Shin Aleph Yud Gimel, that a sinor is mutter on Shabbos. Sinor, Samach Yud Nun Reish, which is typically typed as a apron. But you look at the Adarabah. The Magen Avraham says, you know why a sin is mutter? Because it's worn in the front and the back. So it's a real malbush. But our aprons that are worn just in the front, just a little bit, and its color indicates it is done latzulei tinef. So all the poskim of today say the sinor, the apron is a beged of atzulei tinef, and it's awesome. However, there is an interesting factor to consider, and by Chassidim, Leil Shabbos, the Nashim wear a weiße shirtzel. So once it becomes a beged, sometimes, why is different than sak sharoyim? But lamaisa, there is a chiluk in the metzius, because the regular aprons are colored, so the stain shouldn't show out. This is a vaisa, a very crystal white, beautiful color, and also this has a different surah to it. It's much more elegant. So it's two different begadim. So maybe the shirtz will be mutta to belatzulei tinef, but not the typical apron that's one big baguette of tinef. Unless again it's worn lefanei lachrea, and that would make it a malbush. Someone asked me, he sweats a lot, so he likes to put a tissue under his shirt collar, between his shirt and his neck. Or someone else had to put he puts a tissue under his yarmulke because he sweats a lot. Both are examples of atzulei tinef. It's not a regular beged, it's just atzulei tinef. How could we not mention, hope should never be negeya, but during COVID, people wanted to know about wearing a mask out, b'shus harabim. So the emes is the mask for those that needed it was a real tzarech haguf, and about this mutter. I wouldn't call a mask a beged, but it's at least like a moich latzulei tzar. So a mask certainly was mutter. The only issue was when someone was not worried about his health. Let's say he had antibodies, he had whatever, he's not worried about himself. He's doing it because of the Chil Hashem. So I must mention Chil Hashem is a great factor. I make a Chil Hashem. But that's not matir carrying on Shabbos. If it's not a tzorech haguf, then you have to know if there's a heter. But definitely if he's wearing it to protect his guf, that would be the classic example of the category number 3, that it's somewhat worn, he's not carrying a mask, and therefore it would be mutter l'tzoyrech adaguf. Now, before I start part 2, which is the question of raincoats and rubbers, I must apologize. If you look at the chart, I anticipated speaking about much more than just we're going to do today. I thought to talk about schiita, but the raincoat and all these things were such a big sugya, so I'm going to have to leave out part of it for another time. The question of chatzi shir is a problem. But then again, if I go over time, that's already bal toisif. Chatzi is a machloikis tanoim v'z l'rais d'rabanan. But bal toisif is definitely the raisa. So we're going to have to leave out for a different shir oid chazoin. But what's fascinating is the part 2, the rain and rain-related shilas regarding begodim. And again, you'll see the shenkite of all the heintige shilas amamish in our Gemara. So as we said earlier, let's start with the pashit. A spring raincoat, in other words, the old-fashioned that a person wore, just pashit, in between raincoat, in between winter coat and nothing, that's a vadei malbush. You're allowed to wear it even though it's at sulei tinef or light drizzle. Why? Nadarim nun heyim et beis. A spring coat is a malbush gomel l'choladeis. Therefore, if you came to shul, it was raining, you want to wear it home when it's not raining, and there's no problem about chana, you don't want to leave the coat in shul, so that would be mutter, because a malbush is mutter even if it's no longer needed, like the sock is mutter when it's not raining. So this is nadarim nun heyim et beis. Okay. Question: if someone asks you, when you sends you a message, come with 2 coats, two spring coats. I'm stuck in shul without a spring coat. So that you have to know. Is it the derech? I don't know. It's even shaykh to put on a second spring coat, but therefore could be it's worse than 2 socks. But if someone knows that's the derech, then in a chanami it's mutter. Okay. Now let's talk about the heintige me'il. It's a thin plastic. This is it. If anybody never saw it, I'm sure everybody saw. But this is the me'il, a thin plastic, and it's worn as a raincoat. In fact, someone told me, I'm not sure, but I heard 2 girsois that some call it shane coat because they don't want to stress rain. It's a coat, shane coat. But then someone else told me that the one that designed it, his name is Shane. So it's a machlokes, in Messiah what the name is. But basically, we'll call it a me'il, shane coat. It's all the same, but it's made to protect you from the rain. The question is this type of coat, thin plastic, that's worn weekday and Shabbos to protect you from rain. Does it have the status of a malbush gama, no different than a spring coat? And the answer is, avada does. This is a malbush. It covers the guf. It adds a degree of warmth. Don't forget, when it's hot, some, and it's raining, people are schwitzing. It adds a degree of warmth. It goes over the whole body. It's worn with sleeves and everything. And I saw all the heintige paiskim agree that there's no shayla that the me'il of today is a malbush gama. That's very relieving. So therefore, a person could wear it to shul, even though it's a light drizzle. He's only wearing it to protect his coat, his jacket, I'm sorry. In other words, a me'ila today is category number 1, malbush gama. Also, if you go home from shul and it stopped raining, and you're afraid to leave it in shul, it will get mixed up with all the others that are in shul, you'll let it wear it home. Why? Malbush is mutter even shalayim ne'agashamim. You'll ask, what about chaychiyoleh? People are going to laugh at you. So I tell people, he's not going to laugh at you because he's also wearing his meal home. Because Metzias is, I always wonder what the goyim think. Like 11, 12 o'clock, when it was raining and now it's sunny outside, you see just throngs of Yidden wearing raincoats. Why is that? Pashut, because they want to wear it home. But not because they have some religious observance. But it's interesting, Yidden walking through the streets when it stopped raining, everybody's wearing raincoats. Why? To leave it in shul, it's going to definitely get lost, mixed up. But this is a malbush shalai b'shas kisham. Now, what could be more of a heta, if you get an SOS in shul, bring 2 me'il, I'm stuck in shul. So a 2 me'ilim is shaykh to be done, and it's probably more effective, because sometimes on heavy rain, it goes through the first me'il. But if it's the derech to wear 2 me'ilim, then tak it's mutter. The next thing I want to share with you, because it's interesting, I have to be careful. Someone told me, B'Shem Rav Forsheimer, one of the Gedolia Paiskim of today, that he holds that if you go during the winter, on a cold winter day, and you're wearing a heavy winter coat, and it's a very light drizzle, and you go back to your house, or you decide to wear a me'il just to protect the coat. In other words, you're not walking too far. It's not a downpour that might penetrate your coat, jacket, shirt. It's just to protect your coat. He held it's also to do that, because it's no different than Ramoish's Psak, which we'll soon see. You can't wear a hat cover on top of a hat, because you're doing it latzulei tinif of the hat. So this me'il is latzulei tinif of the coat. In fact, the person told me that he would see people walking in the street, he would tell them, you're not allowed to do that. And to me it was a tremendous chiddush, because if we establish what seems, poshit, that a me'il is a malbush, so a malbush got to be malbush is mutter. And this fits, this is done, and it's worn. And in fact, maybe it's even like rubbers that we'll soon see is mutter. So I think maybe he holds it, the me'il is not a malbush. So I called him. And I said, I would like to hear, because I don't want to misquote you like some people do to me. Tell me what you said about the me'il. He goes, what do you mean? So I said, somebody said you can't wear the me'il over the coat. So I never said that. I said, but they said you stop people in the streets. So he, very edel, that's not his type at all. He says, I never did that. So you see once again, the truth of what the Mishnah says, they say things in his name they never said. He never said. I mean, Zichra, he never stopped people. How this came, I don't know, but I'm not surprised. This happens all the time. But I was very relieved, because it's unthinkable to say that. If you assume that a me'il is just the category number 3, not a malbush, just in between, and you're doing it like sulei tinaf, that's awesome. But the assumption is the me'il of today is a regular malbush. Now, I did see the Oz Nidbu and Chelik Aleph, Simon Ayin Aleph says, according to Rav Moshe, maybe a plastic raincoat over a coat is awesome. So it could be held it's not a malbush. But this was written many years ago. Today, it's an accepted malbush. Now, the next question is, comes both in spring coats and in the me'il. You see, we'll soon see when you need this hood for the hat is very helpful. And I should mention, all agree, as soon as you're allowed to wear the hood over the hat, because it's part of the malbush. So that's pashut. Even if you hold a hat cover we don't wear, but this hood that's made and designed to go over the hat, and it's part of the raincoat, it's attached. So if the raincoat is mutter, always, so is the hood. And that's the chayra pashut. The question is, let's say it stopped raining. We said earlier, you're allowed to go home with the me'il, but you're not going to cover your hat because it's not raining. So you're going to go home just like this with the raincoat, with the me'il being worn. The hood is hanging and basically not functional. So the shaila is that mutter? L'chayra, we could compare that to a talis she'ena mitzuyetzes, a pasula tzitzis. You're not allowed to wear the talis because the rest of the tzitzis are dysfunctional and therefore are masui. However, there's a big makom l'chalik, because there the tzitzis are dysfunctional. You can't use them. Here, the kud is functional. You don't need it. It might rain, you will use it. And even if it doesn't rain, but it could be used. And indeed, there be Allah in Shin Aleph Chav Gimel, not talking about a raincoat, but he's talking about a hood. Today the children wear these hoods during a cold day, and that has a hood, we call it a hood, but it has a hood in the back, and you're allowed to wear that windbreaker hood with the hood hanging. Why? Pashut. Once it has the status of a malbush, it's mutter in any way. Just like mi'ikad the din, I think all the poskim agree, a person goes out b'shas harabim with shoelaces that are untied. Now, if that's dangerous, he should correct that. But there's no issa of eitzah. By coat that has a belt, it might fall off. There's a dion in the poskim. But if shoelaces don't fall off, and the same is true regarding a hood of a raincoat. That just like the me'il is a malbush gomer and the hood is part of it, it's mutter even if you're not using it. It's not like a talis m'shenim mutziyetzet. It is a valid beged. But recent years they started doing something which is very appreciated, because if you're walking in the street with a raincoat, a halbatzar, but if you're walking with a hood hanging in the back, you look modern. So they started making one of two solutions. Either you fold up, roll up, like I'm doing this hood, this rain hood, and you put it in a specially made pocket that you could zip up, and then you put the collar over the zipper, and you look like a mensch. So you're not dangling with the hood. Some coats, like my spring coat taka, it has a big pouch, and you don't have to roll it up. You stuff it in, and it goes all the way down, and b'chaya. Then you close it, and you put this part of the jacket over the part of the coat, I say, the collar over the zipper, and you don't see anything. It's a beautiful spring coat. So the question is, are you allowed to go out on Shabbos with the hood folded up and tucked into a pocket, or pushed down into an empty, hollow space that it lays flat? So the emphasis is, what's really the problem? This should be a new example of hayoitza betalis bekupelis, not talis shenim mutzietes. What this means is, if someone takes a regular talis gadol and he wears it properly, is fine. If he wraps it up and makes it into a scarf, that's haitzah, because all that material is you're not being used. So the shaila is, will we say that this folded up hood that's tucked into a pocket is a talis mikupeles, which the Gemara says chayiv chatos? So some say, what do you mean? Talis mikupeles asik is not the derech. This is the derech. The derech is to fold it up and put it into the pocket. What our Forshaima told me is the derech is in a way to carry it in a respectable way. But is the derech that it's carrying? It's designed as derech to carry. So Lamaisa, he had another problem. When you roll up or fold up the hood itself, so this is similar to the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Mem Zayin, where the Gemara says that asiyas marzev, a person that folds up material, is an isal's marzev, which Rashi explains that you make as if you're making a new pocket, because you could put it in this folded up material. And the Taz in Simon Sivkot and Chaf Aleph and Chaf Ein, Magen Avraham Sivkot Mem Dalet, quote this lashon of marzev, folding something up that you could stick something in. You're making a functional pocket. Rav Moshe originally said that folding up a shirt sleeve, the cuff, folded one on top of the other, is asal's marzev. So he felt maybe if you fold up the pocket, the hood, so that's an asiyas marzev. Now the Yemes is the Rav Shulchan Aruch in Kunchazach Sivkot and Ches says we don't paskin like this marzev. It's not in Shulchan Aruch. The Taz Magen Avraham bring it. So the marzev is questionable. But what I thought is mutter l'chol days, and he agreed, if you like the coat that I have, you could tuck the hood in as it is, push it in, there's a big hollow cavity there. That's the length of the coat. Why not? You push it in flat, so it's not a marzev, and it's laying in its position. You'll say, what about haitzah? So I asked, so what I tie in it is, if it's dangling behind you, look like a batlin, that's okay. If you put it into a special designed pocket and it's flat, why should that be worse? It's not any worse than if it's dangling in the back. So that seems to be the right hachra. Folding up, some say, some chayshish for marzev, others say it's not a marzev, but if you just basically push it into the pocket and it lays flat, that's not a marzev, that should be mutter. The next question is wearing rubbers b'chlal. So the emphasis is, assuming a person has a good pair of shoes, waterproof, and there's no holes in the shoes, he can walk a distance, a big distance, and his feet will not get wet. So the question is, why is it mutter to wear rubbers? So why bring the rubbers taka? Protect your shoe. Atzulei tinef. However, Lamaisa, the Paiskim all agree, Rav Moshe, Aleph Kuf Ches, who holds that a hat cover is asa. He says, but galoshes are a malbish for two reasons. Number one, they add a degree of warmth. And don't forget, there's a fundamental chiluk. After here, you see it's so pashut. The hat cover covers the hat, but not your head. It doesn't add warmth, it's going on the hat. The rubbers go on the foot, on the shoe. So it adds a little more warmth. So Moshe says, first of all, the rubbers are mechamim. And also, for those that don't have good shoes, they have holy shoes, like I say, or shoes that leak through, after a while, it's going to make you irritated. So it's sai tzoyrech haguf and sai mechamim. So that's why it's mutter to wear rubbers, even if your kavanah is to protect your beautiful new shoes, and even to wear them home after the rain stopped, where it's only to transport it, but it's derech malbush is okay. That l'chayr is pashut. Some people wear boots during a big snow, and it's very hard to get on and off the boots. So what works, you put a plastic bag over your shoe, and that gives it a little more traction, and you can pull on the boot. Right. Let's say you finally got the boot on. Then you say, uh-oh, I have a problem. The plastic bag in the boot is doing nothing. It's like carrying a shoehorn. And Taka the Heintige Poskim say that you can't go with that bag. It's not a malbush, it's not a tzul tzar, it's like a convenience. So you have to find a different way to get on the boot on Shabbos. I don't know if that's enough of mechamim. Okay, I hear that point, but it's not enough of, and also it's not derech malbush, it's not wanting mechamim. A blizzard, because the ikar kavanah is, don't forget, is for the tzarech of the shoe, not for the mechamim. What I think might be more mutter if someone is stuck in shul and it started snowing, it's a blizzard, he's a foot of snow, and he has no boots. So it makes sense to put two bags, you want to get matching bags if you want, but there's plenty of bags in shul, put them all the way up your foot, and then put your shoe on. That might keep the plastic bag to give you protection for your guf. See, that's more of a tzarech of the guf, you shouldn't get wet. Now some say it has to be only if it covers right over the guf, so some go with that shita, but at least there's a tzad to say that much better than wearing the boot to help, wearing the plastic to get the boot on. The real issue, which when it came out, I remember still it was a big issue, Taka, is this plain old-fashioned plastic hat cover. Now today it's not as popular because the mill functions as that, but if you think about it, you could argue both ways very convincingly. Question: the plastic hat covers, is it like rubbers that's mutter, or is it basically a baguette to protect your hat? So the emphasis, the name hat cover is pretty indicative of what it is. It's a hat cover, okay, number one. Plus, it's not on your head, it's on your hat. It doesn't do anything to your head. Also, your head will not get wet unless it's a very heavy rain because you're wearing a hat. Varaya, when you have an old hat, you don't even put on the hat cover. Plus, no one ever wears just a hat cover. And this is why many prominent poskim, the Roshim, the Heilige Chazanish, the quoted by the Steipel, the Minchas Yitzchak, Rav Moshe, the Satmar Rav also held this, that a hat cover, kipshutai, is nedarim nun heyam at beis, a beged miyuchid latzu leitinaf. Now, it could be an earlier source, the Chayi Adam in Nun Vav, the end of Siv Dalet, ish os lotzeis, lechases a im pachayla, with a handkerchief, avamut lotzeis koivei beroish lehatzim leitinaf hakshamim. You're allowed to wear a hat to protect your head from getting wet, but you can't put a shmata onto your hat. That sounds like a plastic hat cover. You're doing it to protect your hat. So here, those that hold this asa, it's not a hergish. It's a question of a tzule of the hat, but it's not a malbush. However, there are an equally impressive list of maktirim, the Har Tzvi, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, the Chalkas Yakov, the Kloiser, Magdiv Yatzav, and the Tshuva, Yoaz Nidbru, and they look at the same hat cover with a different eye. And they say that basically this is worn by all people and it goes very nice fit onto the hat and it's a way of going. Why is that a malbush? This is a new malbush that's worn by all people. Now, okay, good, I understand that. But rubbers also no one wears plain rubbers. Again, Tishava, I understand. But the Meister of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach in Shmir Shabbos Yud Ches Yud, he says since it fits the hat perfectly, more vasvar, it's bottled to the hat, it becomes part of the hat.
Nobody wears it when it doesn't rain.
Okay, but when you're wearing it, it's bottled to the hat. I'm Achmed, I'm just telling you what they say. Now, of course, one thing I will say, the Chai Adam has no shaykhs to this hat cover. Chai Adam is wearing a shmata, a handkerchief. This, if you hold this part of the hat, it's bottled to the hat. The Chalkas Yakov in Archaim Tarik Tes, he says, I hear in America, everybody wears this hat cover, it's a Malbush Gomer. Now, he's looking at it from a different angle. It's one. Rabbis are one, this is wrong. But the truth is, the raya from Rabbis is a very poor raya. Rabbis is a malbush on the guf to protect the guf. This, no doubt, like you asked, is to protect the hat. But Lamaisa, this question is something that we could say, the matirin, the machmirim, it's an maracha, mul maracha. But one thing I want to add, the Ramah in Sif Lamed Vav, I mentioned earlier, says you're allowed to wear two begadim. One example is on Palois, and another example in the Ramah is you're allowed to wear two hats. Zok Mishtibura in Kuf Lamed Vav, because the derech is to wear a koiva gadol over a koiva cotton. So maybe that's a raya to the hat cover, but it's not true. The Mishnah talk about the following scenario. A person has a very expensive yarmulke, the marshal. He doesn't wear a hat, but it's raining outside. So he wears a hat on Shabbos to protect the yarmulke. That's koiva gabi koiva. Or a small ski cap and a big hat over it, but it's a normal beged. But if we're assuming that a hat cover is a itzule hat, then there's no heta. So here the question is, the makilim hold it's legitimate beged. Once it's a beged, that's the easy pass, everything is mutter. And it's something like rubbers, the machamirim would hold that this is not a beged, it's itzule tinef, it's a hat cover. Now who could be machriya, but if someone asks me, b'shas adchak, does he have what to be seimach on? Avad, he does. So the sugin the almatak is to be machmir. But if someone has a tzoyrich, avada, there are gedolia places that will make them. What's interesting, I'll tell you an outdated shaila, but it's very relevant. Those used to be more of a derech to wear a straw hat. So I saw the Heintige place command, a straw hat would mut even like Rav Moshe. Sherman Sanalach already says this, because after a little bit rain, you're going to get wet. So the hat cover, which goes on a straw hat, is all mitzah, or the saving from tzar haguf. Now, Rav Moshe himself, you should know, in the end of Kuf Yud, the tshuva, he says if the hat or the rain is so intense that it will penetrate your hat, you're not wearing the hat cover, because then it's a suli aguf. But typically, it does not go through the hat. Now, I like to make shalom ba'olam. I saw, again, I don't have experience, but I saw some poskim say that some streimels is also what the hat cover the holidays, because the rain goes through. So hear this, straw hat and streimel are on the same page. At least it got to be this halacha, that lemaisa, if now, someone told me it's not true, the heintige streimels are so thick, so again, I don't have experience, but if indeed the plastic hat cover is saving, if the streimel will let the rain through, then avad it's a het bar. Now, the new type of streimel cover that covers the ears, part of the and back of the neck, so that the Shmir Shabbos is mekel, because it covers part of the guf, even like the machmir. Now again, if you go with the pashtis of some early achrayim that has to cover the roishai, the rubai, and that wouldn't be a hetataka. I saw the Hilchas Shabbos b'Shabbos. That's Rav Karps Zangudon. He quotes Rabbi Yashiv that did not agree to this new type of hat cover. But the emes is, if you go that it covers the hat, the head, that would be one sat to be mekel. Now, someone is stuck in shul without anything, and it's pouring, and he has a good hat. So in shul, you always could find a plastic bag to cover the hat. But this, Rabbi says, also l'chol hadayis, because this is not even a malbush. This doesn't go on the hat. You don't wear that unless you're really stuck. Also, women's rain bonnet, so let me give you a little bit of background. It's basically a plastic, but it goes over the entire head and covers the ears. So the emes is, typically, it's worn by women to protect their sheitel. But again, I don't have the experience, but the poskim say that even single girls also wear it, because when it's raining and you have nothing on your head, you get wet. So this is something that has 2 milas over the plastic hat cover. Number one, it goes over the head itself, not just the hat. It's on the head like a ski cap, l'mashal. And number two, it's worn to protect the guf. But even if you have a sheitel, but it doesn't protect it forever, the rain will penetrate much quicker than it does through a regular hat. So this I saw the Minchas Yitzchak and Chelik Gimel Chavav, although he says we don't allow plastic hat covers, but a rain bonnet is okay, that the Metzina Rav also is makel. So basically, once it's mutter, because it's a malbush, then you could wear it if you're anticipating rain, but it's not raining, and you can wear it at home after it stopped raining, because once you get into category 1, that's the easy pass to go beyond. Okay, someone asked me to shaila, he was walking in the street, no warning, it started pouring. So he was concerned it's going to ruin his new hat. So he had a mazel that he had a coat on. So when he was still wearing his coat, you have to know how to do it, you could pick up the coat and it will cover the hat. Now it's much more common when a person's walking without a hat and it starts pouring, and then he picks up his jacket and he puts it over his head. If you remember your yeshiva days, when some people want to get a little of a nap, they would put their jacket over their head, put the head down, and then he started ligging and learning, if you remember that. That was done. I'm not saying it's the derech malbus, but it's more easy to put your jacket over your head than put a coat. But anyhow, let's talk about both of those. So this is interesting. I'll tell you why, because it doesn't sound like derech malbus, but wait a second. This is the opposite of talis mekupeles. Talis mekupeles, you are negating part of the talis, you're folding it up and you're making it dysfunctional. So that's a problem. Here, you're getting more for your money. You're using the coat to protect your head, lamashal. So it's more of a malbush. And also, if your head gets wet, it would be considered a tzar haguf. So the chayr, this should be okay. Certainly to protect your head. We'll soon come back to the hat. But the chayr, it's a derech malbush plus. You're getting more for your malbush. And a tzuli hatzar. Then I saw Shlomo Zalman and Shulchan Shlomo, Shin Aleph, Sivkot and Chavav. And I quote the Lashon because it's in Miksav Yad Kotche. Lakachas es kol ha-beged ala roish. Nira, im lahagen ala guf, mutam. Avam lahagen ala koiva, ein ze derech levisha. Now, if you look at the Lashon, he's not talking about our case, l'chayra. That's the way I understand it. Lakachas es kol ha-beged ala roish, I think, he means you're taking the whole coat, mad nazach, and putting it over your head, on top of your head, or over your hat. Because in my case, you're not putting kol ha-beged ala roish. In my case, you're just putting the top of the jacket. I think that's what he's talking about. Because the Bible says it makes sense to say that if you put the entire coat, I mean the top of it, over a hat, if it's a malbush, so it's still a malbush mutlei tzulei tinaf. Then I saw, again, I looked, whoever has a safe, I try to find this, Chutshani, I'm this in Karel, it's a Chelik Dal Amid Kuf Lamed, Leilach im hamamil ala roish, b'bnei geshamim tzarechiyim. That's the end of his sheet about this. Leilach im hamamil ala roish. What does he mean? Does he mean taking the chayra? Im hamamil ala roish. I think he means taking the whole meal. Something like an umbrella, but it's soft, so it's not an umbrella, and it's going on the head. That's why it's tzarechiyim. But I can't understand if you do like I just did. If it's raining heavily, you don't want to get wet, and you put your coat or jacket over your head, it's a real malbush. It's still being worn normally. The chayr should be mutter. If I'm mistaken, please correct me. So Lamaisa, this is what I think. Certainly to protect your head would be like sulei tzar, and it's derech malbush. It's mutter. And the last two questions, achrein chavev, are absolutely delightful. This is a true story. It happened a number of years ago when it was like this year's Seder. I remember like yesterday. Shabbos was Shmini Atzeres, and Matzoi Shabbos Simchas Torah. So Bacha he did something, then he asked me afterwards. He decided he wasn't going to stay in the dorm after Yakov. He's going to go home to sleep. But then the last minute Shabbos, Shmini Atzeres, he decided he wants to go sleep in the dorm. So he told me like this. He has no linen in the dorm. He took it home for Bein Hazmanim. So without a blanket, he doesn't need it. It's warm, not a problem. Without pillows, he'll manage because he's tired after Yakov to fall asleep. But he needs a sheet. So he took his sheet that he puts on the bed sheet, wrapped it around his body, and put his jacket over it, and went to yeshiva. When he got to yeshiva, he got a hero's welcome, like, what are you doing? So he said, what do you mean? It's malbush. It's soft material. I wrap around the body. That's what they used to do in the olden days. So what's wrong? In fact, it could be our Gemara. Yoitzim besak uva yiriyah. What's yiriyah? A cloth. A heavy cloth sack is also mutter. But this is soft. This is the material that we wear shirts with and everything else. So the Chayr, he has a good point. Vivait, this is worn on the guf, or over the guf, but it's like a malbush, it got to be a malbush, in the way they used to wear this atef, derech ituv. So what's his problem? So we could almost tempted to say, For this also, Nedarim Nun Hayim at Beis, Yeriyos is mutter. And that l'chayr makes sense. It's a cloth of a malbush, worn derech malbush, not in America, but worn the way they used to wear. They would wrap themselves with a cloth. However, the Aruch HaShulchan in Kuf Beis and Ausim and Shnaf Kuf Beis, he said Medina Seinu, it's not the derech to go with a yeriyah, and therefore it's asa mikol makam ladina tzarachin. So I think that person should be told it's l'chol hapachas ladina tzarachin, and if tak it's asa, it's a derech haitzah. You got to be careful. In other words, in the olden days, this would be mutter because it's like two pair of socks. You have a shirt and a sheet is like two pair of socks. If your person's very cold, he would do it. I mentioned last week, Chazon Ish would wrap himself with a blanket to keep warm during the day. So if the derech would be like that, this would be mutter. But the Aruch HaShulchan puts in this factor that it's a problem. And last but not least, the question we began. Someone came under the very heavy rain. He had no raincoat. He came to shul with a plastic tablecloth wrapped around. So this has ala mailas l'chayra. First of all, atzulei tzar. The previous case, he's doing it to carry. He's a chaverman. This is atzulei tzar. Also, it's derech ituf, wrapping himself. And also, even believe it or not, the plastic material is derech malbush. Do you know how many, you don't even realize, how many begadim are polyester, nylon, rayon, all these names are plastic. We wear plastic begadim, the lining of jackets, some suits are polyester. So it's even the material of a beged. And I saw some of the Heintige Paiskin, the Hilchas Rabbis L'Shabs is Mekel, and he says, this is considered wrapping the guf, mipnei atzar, derech ituf, what's the problem? But again, here the problem is, if you go with the Aruch HaShulchan's mahalach, that this is not a derech malbush. The Megillah Seifa in Amud Reish Chav Gimel, he says that putting a plastic bag over your head to protect you from the rain is like a teva and a kupa. It's not a derech malbush. So I would imagine the same would be regarding this plastic bag, the plastic tablecloth. But the Yesod HaDavar is, any shaila is one of the three. Either it's a malbush gama that's mutter unconditionally, or else it's the other case when it's not even worn and tatzulei tzar will not help. The in-between case, something is worn but not a real malbush, that's questionable. I couldn't talk to you all. Kaddish? No. David. Kaddish. Hey. Beggar gotta be beggar, too sure.
Okay. For the shit, well, not to rain on anyone's parade, but the Rosh months to do beged, I'll get beged, and the sikim of the shir, rain and Shabbos.
That was Thomas worse than it really is.
It's not a group of people. Okay, Rabbi said just how we learned today. First of all, a beged, a definition of beged is it's worn for warmth or protection, and that's mutter in all cases all the time. Something that's not a beged just to prevent staining is also, unless it's to prevent pain, that's mutter. If something is not worn at all, he holds it to protect them from the element, from rain, so that's also l'chol hadays. That would be the case of teva and kupa. Once something is a beged, then two begadim are two or even more, if that's the derech, are mutter. Just it has to be the derech. In other words, two belts is asa, two socks, etc. is mutter. To wear a spring coat, latzule, to protect from the rain is fine. That's a beged. Wear a winter coat During the summer is fine mitzad haitzah, but the problem is they might laugh at you. Woolen talis cut navad is mutter. A bag over a cast to protect from dirtying is awesome. A talis gadol, as we said from the Cheshvan, even the Cheshvan is maida, that even on Leil Shabbos you're allowed to wear it because it's a beged. The concern is if it's chaychu or not. An apron is a problem if it's tzuli tinif. A Shabbos shirtzel is okay. That's the beged. A mask during COVID is considered tzuli tzar. To wear home any beged is mutter even if the sole intention is to carry it, but l'maisa you're wearing it derech malbush. Me'il is a malbush in our times. We said that seems to be pashit. To wear at home if there's no chaychila, which there isn't, is okay. A me'il to protect your coat is also mutter. A hood hanging but not being used is okay. That's the bi'alacha. The question is the new type that rolls up, you fold up and you put it into a pocket is highly questionable. If it's just stuffed into the pocket, that's okay. I forgot to mention, someone showed right before the shir, he has one of these new raincoats and there's a pocket attached to the coat. You fold up the whole coat and put the coat into the pocket when it's not raining. So you're carrying around the pocket for post-rain. So I have to think about that. That seems a little worse because that's not functional now during the rain. It's hard to believe that a pocket of a raincoat becomes part of the raincoat. But again, I like to talk without thinking, so we'll leave that as a tzarachian. But it's interesting. There's a pocket in the on the raincoat, not the typical meal. You fold up the raincoat and put it into the pocket, and you have like a little packet, whatever it is. So that will lead us to tzarachian. The question of rubbers is vadei malbush, even to protect your shoes is okay. To wear at home after rain is okay. Also, a bag that helps to get the boots on is a problem. A bag over the foot, l'chayr should be mutter unless you hold it, has to be roiv guf. The plastic hat cover, as we said, haber machmirim, hamekel yasham yilismoich. Straw hat or strimer where the rain penetrates is like a regular hat when the rain penetrates and is mutter, even like your Moshe. A plastic bag on a hat, all agree, is awesome. A rain bonnet for the women is mutter. A hold the coat over the head, l'chayra, to protect the head, but the coat's being worn should be mutter. Tzarachin about to protect the hat. But a sheet around the guf or a plastic tablecloth around the guf, since not the derech l'chayra to tzarachin, gadol to be makel.
B'shem Egan Shir, like to give a big yashikar to Smith to today's shir, to have the great schutz sponsoring a shir. Call Egan Shir 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com.